So today we've got a brand new project to show you guys. This is something we've had in the works for a couple of months now, and this is probably going to be one of the biggest and most ambitious projects that OMD has ever done. So without further ado, let's get right into it. This is a 1986 Ferrari 412. So this Ferrari 412 is one of only about 500 models made and sold only here in the United States. So a client has asked us to take this car right here and resto mod it with a new engine, transmission, and everything else. We're really excited to get into this build, but before we do that, I want to drive this car today and kind of show you what this car is all about as is. Let's go ahead and hop in. So one of the first things that you'll notice when you get into this car is that this car is actually an automatic. Now, interestingly enough, this is a 1986 Ferrari, but it actually has the Turbo 400 transmission from GM. This shifter is straight out of a 1966 Camaro, and that's just what it came with. To drive, head out. Now, one of the first things that you notice while driving this car is how soft it is. It's very soft and kind of forgiving as you drive it around. The automatic transmission, the Turbo 400, is actually surprisingly quick off the line. You can feel right away. There's a want to grab this and shift, but of course you don't need to. Now this car is pretty low mileage. It's got about 31,000 kilometers on it, and it runs really well actually. Just kind of putting along, and everything feels pretty good, and temperatures are holding steady, and already you can feel it has a good amount of body roll, but it just takes the bumps like they're nothing. Oil pressure looks good, everything's running great, and the thing runs like a champ. It's, so we're starting to get some temperatures into everything, and everything's running great. And in a second here, I'll give it the beans and see what it can do. Ooh. Yeah, you can feel it really roll into the, but kind of once you get that Turbo 400 to downshift, it kind of goes pretty good. I mean, that's good. Stuff smells. Is that brakes? It smells like brakes. The client that owns this, of course, is a collector who's had a lot of cars in his life, and when he originally told me that this was a car that he really liked and he had had multiple of in his life, I didn't really quite get it. But having gotten this car in person and been able to look at it and really kind of get a feel for the lines of this car and the elegance of this old school design, and then now you drive it and you kind of see what this car is really about. It's not meant to be like the Ferraris of my era, like the 430 or the 458, where they're loud and they're fast. It's meant to be comfortable and quiet. And it kind of really it does a really good job of doing that. It's a comfortable, quiet, long, heavy car, and you can kind of
all around me are familiar faces, worn out.
Well, that little drive, I only drove a couple miles, and it seems like I have potentially broken the clutch maybe or something. It is just slow. I can smell what smells like maybe clutch or brakes. So we're limping it back to the shop, and I guess it's good we're taking the engine and transmission out of this car anyways, right? So
can see the paint coming off the wheel. Paint's coming off the wheel because it gets so hot. Yeah, I kind of already suspected that was happening.
Dang it, I only drove it like 5 miles and I already broke the thing. And the worst part is that I had so much more planned for the drive to, show you guys about this car and what makes it special and to tell you about, Enzo Ferrari loving the big 4-seater Ferraris and, get a whole bunch of different shots and stuff. So, but we'll fix it. Luckily, it's not something that's hard to fix. One other thing that we wanted to do in this video before we actually start to take the car apart is to put the car on some scales and get a baseline weight. Now the car has basically no gasoline in it. It's got like less than a gallon. But we're gonna go ahead and throw it on our scales and see how much it weighs. 4,200 pounds is definitely heavier than I expected this car was going to be, especially for a car from this era. But this car does have a lot of complicated electronics in it for this era, so I'm not too surprised. Of course, the goal during this project is to get this car as light as we can be without, losing too much of what this car is. Sadly, our drive in this car got cut a bit short by the brakes sticking, which does suck. But I do want to show you guys one thing. So one of the coolest things about this car is that this engine in this car is the final Colombo V12 sold by Ferrari. The Colombo V12, if you guys didn't know, is the original design that featured in most V12 Ferraris from 1947 until this car finished production in early 1988. Which really shows what this car represents. Not only the engine, but the design, the chrome trim, everything really is a send-off to the Ferraris of yesteryear. So of course, during this project, we don't want to lose that aspect of this car. We still want this car to be a representation of the past for Ferrari, but bring it into the future and have, new engine like we said, which we will show in the next episode. Stay tuned for that. And, hopefully it'll be a really cool build at the end of it. The final Colombo V12 ever sold by Ferrari. And what we're gonna do next is take it out. And we'll see you guys then.